I was asked to come up tonight and to welcome everyone here. And I think that it's probably fitting that a school person, the top former superintendent of schools, be here to thank Ruth. In many cases, we think about school people, the things, the decisions they have to make, often making some of those life-changing decisions like expulsions, suspensions, and those kinds of things. And we need, in our communities, the voices, the heart, and the advocacy that we get from Ruth. So we want to thank her for that. Someone asked me, and I get asked this all the time, well, when did you meet Ruth? When did you first meet Ruth? And I really don't know. I came here 20 years ago, and I knew Ruth then. You know? She was a legacy. I came from Lansing, and of course in Lansing we knew Ruth. We knew Ruth. We knew the work she was doing down in Southeast Michigan. We knew she was an advocate for people. We knew she was a voice for the voiceless. We knew of her work. And just to put it in context, a few of you will be too young to really recognize this, but in the 70s and the 80s, part of Ruth's legacy, that's a time when schools were segregated in Ann Arbor, in Lansing, all over the state and all over the country, partly by zoning rules, partly by decisions that were made by local school people, partly by income, and all sorts of reasons, but they were segregated, and kids didn't have access always to the best education that they could. Corporal punishment was an expected discipline policy. Kids would get paddled, and that was just expected. And I remember when the legislation went through to prohibit corporal punishment, people thought, what is this world coming to? You can't paddle kids anymore? Heaven forbid. There was a time when there was no bilingual education. There was no migrant education. That there was LGBT, or just letters in the alphabet. No one would even think of having or think about how you protect kids and how do you give them voice. That just wasn't even on the radar screen. So in that kind of environment, to have an advocate, I see many of her sisters here in Newark, to have an advocate that steps forward and gives voice to the voiceless, gives sight to the people who haven't been seen, to give support to those who haven't necessarily been supported. That's been the work of Ruth, and that has been her legacy. She has been a phenomenal leader. At a time pushing for and advocating for social justice when that wasn't even talked about, it wasn't even part of the lexicon. Pushing for and advocating for equity when people didn't understand what that meant. It didn't mean just putting everyone in a room together and saying, okay, go for it. It really was a time when it really took a vision, it took a dream to make that all happen. I'll end with this by saying that there's a quote by Joel Baker that vision without action is merely a dream. And action without vision just passes the time. But vision with action can change worlds. Ruth has changed the worlds of this community. She has changed the neighborhoods. She has changed the schools. But most importantly, she has changed and bettered the lives of thousands of young people in Michigan who would not have had an equal shot without her. So, welcome all of you to help welcome and celebrate Ruth.